Hey everybody, welcome to the FranPro think tank. Today I have Brian Peart from Commercial Capital. Brian, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Lance.
Well, Brian, can you briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? I know that I've worked with you for a long time, and I've really been very happy with the results I've got working with you, and I just wanted everybody else to have a chance to meet you.
Sure, Lance. Well, I'm Brian Peart, Commercial Capital, and Nexus Financial. I started the company back in 1995. We started as residential. Now we're doing commercial. We launched our commercial in about 2000, and now that's all we do. And we've grown to where I probably produce more closings per month than any single loan officer in the country. So we're growing.
So Brian, what would you say your specialty is? Because some people are like, a loan is a loan.
Well, yes, the documents you sign at the end are a loan, but whether you get approved or denied or any of that, that's all up to who you're choosing. And the thing with us is most of the deals we get have already been denied by a bank, even SBA, and then we take them, get them approved. Because what people don't understand is the SBA didn't deny the borrower; that bank did. They just went with the wrong bank. We take it and get it done, and usually at the exact same rates that they were getting from the bank, but we get it to the closing table. So
So I remember one time you told me that some people get denied and then they come and work with you and you actually get the deal done and for a lower rate.
yeah, that's happened plenty of times. Probably about 80% of the business we closed got denied somewhere else and then came to us and got closed. We do a lot of startups, which a lot of banks don't want to do. Probably 40% of our business is startups. So we're doing a lot of deals that, I mean, they're good deals, they're good borrowers. They just, a lot of banks don't like them because they don't have collateral or they don't have this or that. And we just find the spot that works for them.
Well, I remember you even told me about a few of the bigger brands that you helped them get started. They only had a few units and you sourced the banks because sometimes one bank doesn't want to take and open up a whole lot of locations of some new brand. So you have to source it from different banks just to make it work. Can you share some of those stories?
Sure. I started doing franchises back in maybe 2011 when Firehouse Subs was trying to grow across the country. They were big in the Southeast, but they didn't have any presence out West, and they were having trouble getting financing. And so as they continued out West, I kept finding sources for them to Colorado and to California and help them grow into a nationwide brand. We had a lot of success with that. It was a lot of fun for many years. So.
And what would you say, for some of the biggest challenges that people experience that you work with?
Lance, I think the biggest thing is that you don't know what a bank really wants to do unless you send loans to that bank and you see how their credit committee comes about, because the loan officer who's in the bank branch may not even know. They may only be working there a few weeks and not even really know what that bank is doing. And so because of that, you might be banking at a bank and you think that bank will naturally do your loan, but they actually don't like deals with no collateral, or they don't like deals with credit scores of 650, and you don't know that. So what we do is we kind of take the strengths of the borrower, their credit, their cash flow, their collateral, and match them with the lender that keys in on those strengths so that they're kind of fitting the square peg with the square hole. And it has a lot higher success rate of closing than just going and applying at whatever bank you think is a good bank just because they've done good holding your money in a CD.
Hmm.
Not be very good at SBA loans or any other type of loan. So
Yeah, I have found the same thing with um, a lot of people. They feel more. I think it feels more comfortable to try to work with a local bank that they've worked with for years or done their checking with and or their home mortgage, but um, it doesn't seem to be that those banks all say sure we can do it, but I've seen a drastic amount of them not able to actually pull it off, and have and starting out excited, and in the end just kind of saying sorry. And then the person thinks that they don't qualify for a loan, but it's just the bank that they went with because I think it's a security issue. It feels better.
Yeah, the statistics are pretty stunning. Most banks will ultimately deny 50% of the applicants that come their way. So even if you get a letter from the rep, a letter of interest, what it's called, it may get denied in credit committee, which is when the money really is put out there once they give you a commitment letter. So really, you're at a disadvantage as a client or a customer because you don't really know if that bank likes your type of loan or not. Just because they like you as a person and you're good friends with Mary Lou doesn't mean that Bob on the credit committee is going to do the loan. No matter how much they like you. So
Well, and I talked with somebody who said that he said that a lot of banks might even have a portfolio. So they're trying to build a certain amount of different kinds of loans. And if yours is out of their portfolio, then they can deny you. It doesn't mean that you're don't qualify for a loan. You're not a good candidate for a loan. The business isn't good for a loan, but they're looking for more mortgages. Different types of things.
sure, and they may change their guidelines if they fill up. So like a bank that did hotels 2 months ago may be full on hotels and they won't do hotels anymore, even if the hotel is really, really strong. So it just depends on that bank's portfolio, like you said, and what they're looking for.
So do you have any other examples of businesses, and you don't have to give names if you don't want to, but that have had franchisees that just struggle, and then you were able to take those over? Because that's one of the reasons I started working with you is I had some loans denied from from several of the major franchise lending companies, and they just couldn't get them done. And I went to you, and I don't think you've ever had a deal that didn't get done, which I don't think that anybody else can say that in this industry they've worked with a lender who has never not been able to get a deal done. And I can tell you that my experience with Brian is he's never not been able to get a deal done.
Okay, but there are deals that
For
I'll look
me,
at and say, yeah, for you, you
for
just have
me.
brought better borrowers, right? So, but yes, I have a very high pull through. I've got lots of examples. Just last month I closed a loan for a guy who was starting a restaurant, and it was about a $2 million deal, and he was with a bank for 11 months, and right before the closing, they denied his loan because one of his co-borrowers, the reason they were doing the loan apparently was that co-borrower had a lot of collateral. Well, his collateral was Bitcoin, and it dropped when the Bitcoin thing
Mm.
crashed a few months ago. His portfolio went from $1 million of worth to like 100,000, and they denied the loan. So I took the loan, got it done. I can do loans up to 5 million with no collateral. So I got it done. He closed, and it was a good loan. He had experience. He already had one restaurant open, but he could not. But he had no collateral, and it was a $2 million loan, and most banks just won't go that high without collateral. So that was one. I did. I'm closing this week a loan that's kind of amazing. It's a borrower who had an insurance company, and they're very successful and make good money. And they did it by creating like an algorithm on their computer, which I don't get all this, right? But they create an algorithm that maximizes the cash flow of insurance agencies. They wanted to create an application and then sell that application to other insurance companies. And they needed about 3.5 million to get almost seed money for that application. It was almost all working capital, and those are incredibly tough to get done. And actually, of the hundreds of lenders I know, there were only two that might have considered it. And we got it done. We got it approved. We're closing it this week, and it's almost all working capital for the creation of this app. The reason it works is the business itself supports the debt. So even though it's a new application, the business supports the debt. Almost every loan in my pipeline, there's another one, local restaurant, just business only, already open, but the borrower went with, none of the local banks wanted to do it because, again, she didn't have any collateral. It was just the restaurant business being bought, not the real estate. And we got it approved, got it done, and it's actually a barbecue joint that I go to every once in a while. So it's kind of neat to do a loan for a place that you frequent, which I don't always get to do. So that was kind of cool.
Right. Well, if I didn't know you and I was hearing this, I might think that we're talking about a guy who can get loans done regardless of the ability to qualify for a loan of the borrower. So we're not looking at taking people who shouldn't have a loan and finding a way to get them a loan. We're taking people who qualify for a loan, but they just went to the wrong bank.
That's correct.
And we can find a bank, Brian can find a bank that that makes sense and will do the loan. And I have, again, I'm sure that there's people that could not qualify and you couldn't help them, but so far I've brought people to you and I've never had somebody who was turned down. So I've just been impressed with that. As a rule of thumb, what's kind of like a range of how long it might take for someone to get funded?
So we do have our own private money, so we can fund deals with our own money instead of going some of the channels like SBA, and that can close in less than 30 days. But SBA loans are typically 45 to 60 days. And that really depends on how quickly you get your documents in. That's one of those things you can do to really help your process out.
Well, and I know that you also don't do loans under 250,000, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So about 250 to 5 million is the sweet spot?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. And what are some common mistakes that you see when people are trying to use services like yours?
I think the biggest thing that people do is they call me last. Again, they go into these banks or whatever, and they or they go online and they try these things, and there's no real regulation, in our industry, unfortunately. So you don't know what you're getting. If you call me first, I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to talk about your deal. I'm going to figure out if you can even qualify. And if you can qualify, then I'll have you a pre-approval within 24 hours. So you'll know how much you can get approved for and exactly what you can do. That gives a lot of peace of mind, on a deal. And if you can't get, and if for some reason, let's say your credit score is too low to get approved, I can give you tips on how to get that up, or I can at least strategize with you where you can qualify in 6 months. Almost anything can be overcome if you have 6 months.
Right. If you're persistent and you want to follow instructions and stay in the process, it definitely seems like it takes longer based on the borrower doing the tasks that they've been given to do.
Yes. So, that you said, what's something that can shorten it? If you have to understand that you're going to get asked a bunch of questions initially, then at approval, another bunch of questions, then at loan commitment, you're going to get closing checklist. And so that's at least 3 times when you're being asked for documents. And if at each one of those times it takes you 1 or 2 weeks to get the documents in, then you're adding 2 weeks plus 2 weeks plus 2. You're adding 6 weeks to the process. All of a sudden, it's not 60 days; it's 75 or 90 days. And only the process didn't slow on the lender's side. You just took so long to get it done. I've closed SBA loans in 40 days, but the borrower gets the stuff to us the same day. That's the only way to get it done that quickly.
Yeah, I have. I've seen clients drag it out, and I always tell them the most fun part is talking to the franchise. I said getting the loan is not going to be the most fun part with all the documents.
Yeah. Franchise deals too, because they're looking for leased space and stuff. That's part of the process. They have to, and a lot of good franchises will help them with that process, but you've got to find a lease. I can have you totally approved, but if you don't have a place to move into yet, I can't close your loan yet, right? You have to, so that could take, I've seen lease negotiations take months, I'm just waiting for them to finish and then we can close, that's usually the case.
Yeah, and I've seen where some franchises, they don't require people to have an office, but if you don't get in there early and let the bank know that they don't need an office to start, then they're just, to not disturb the loan, they're doing all this extra stuff that drags it out and takes forever. So some of that stuff, if they think about that in advance,
That's right.
that can be put out there and can drastically shorten the loan time.
That's right. Yeah.
Any other things that you think that could help people get better or quicker results when they're looking for a loan?
I think it doesn't hurt to give me a call. You're going to provide a link, I believe, that they
Mm-hmm.
to and set up a call with me because I can talk you through. I mean, I've started my own business and I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people do their own loans, so I can get you pre-approved. I can consult with you, et cetera. And I can do that for free. It won't cost you anything for that advice, and it would be prudent to get some good advice like that because I really do a lot of loans and the more you do, the more you learn, the more you know, and so you just like a sponge, just getting it all in, right? And so I can provide that knowledge to someone. I think that would be a great step one, rather than wait until some banks denied you and then call me. Call me first, man. I'm gonna. The Lord has gifted me with the ability to teach and consult, and I'm gonna give you good advice. I will.
Yeah. And I think I've even introduced you to some franchise companies and they've seemed to be extremely happy. So definitely the one thing that you've told me since day one is that you get frustrated that people come to you at the end to fix things that are broken versus just sending you their clients from day one so that you could have the easy ones. You always end up getting the hard ones. It's like,
Right.
why do people keep sending them to the people that get them denied and then send you the denied ones when they could send you all of them?
Especially when I'm gonna give them the same rate or be even better. I mean, you're gonna get a better deal, and the advice and everything else and close. It's not wise to take the risk going somewhere else, in my opinion. But
It drags it out. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate you. For everyone who's listening, I'd say give Brian a call and check him out. I've worked with him for years. Been very happy. I've never had a bad situation. I've seen him go over and above in practically every situation, and even some things he's done some incredible things for people that I've seen nobody in the industry offer to do, and it was just out of the goodness of his heart. So if you want to work with Brian, meet with him, schedule an appointment, you can either click the link next to this video, or you can go to franpro.com/com capital. franpro.com/com capital. Brian, I really appreciate having you on the call.
thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.